Okay. So if any of you guys, like, as I go through this, if you have, I don't want it to always, like, I don't want to just like be giving a spiel all the time. So if anyone has any questions as we go, please chime in and let me know. But I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is a DNA core sample report, and I just want to kind of go through it. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because all of you who are doing it, we will have a visit where we go through it in depth. But I want to just show you kind of some of the things that it looks at. A lot of you have been asking questions about it. So the benefit to this test is that it's looking specifically at your genetics and what your key for several different areas is, including weight management. This is not, I wouldn't say that like, it's not like you have to do this to be able to make progress, but if you find that you kind of like stall a little bit or you want to take some of the guesswork out, it really takes a lot of the guesswork out. So most people coming in just from a nutrition standpoint, if we get macronutrients in a little bit better ratio, they see impressive progress. There are some people who, there's even more going on from a root cause standpoint as far as gut and oxidative stress and inflammation and hormones that play a big role in weight loss and your progress. And DNA core is just kind of a helpful some of the guesswork out. So whenever you do it, everyone gets a report back like this. It's very in-depth and it's pretty user-friendly. I mean, I sit down and go through it with everybody as far as looking at some of the specific genes and working through it, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So this is a specific type of medicine. It's very cutting edge as far as looking at genes and the effect that the environment from like nutrition, stress, lifestyle, sleep, supplements, the effect that that has on the genetic expression. So you can kind of see here, we have a normal gene and then a variant gene. So what we're checking on each of you who are doing DNA core is we're looking for variant genes which affect biological processes and really changes what you need as far as like a personalized intervention depending on what that gene is. So you can read through all this, but just basically taking the genes in your genetic mutation with nutritional supplements and nutrition and exercise to lead you to not just feeling okay or staying around the weight you want to stay, but really looking at optimal health. And that's a little bit of a switch between what I'm used to in like family medicine, conventional medicine, and functional medicine is, I would check labs on a patient and I would say, okay, you don't have diabetes. Like I'm looking at disease in that setting, but functional medicine is really looking at, okay, you don't have this disease, but you have some markers that are really setting you up for potentially getting that disease. And what can we do about it now to change that trajectory and pushing people more to optimal health, which is not something that we here in America are really moving towards. So the DNA core report is going to look at 4 areas. We have nutrition, weight management, exercise response, and biological processes. And I'm just going to scroll through here so you guys can kind of see. So the summary of the core areas, we look at lipid metabolism. So, for people who have either personal history of high triglycerides or high cholesterol, looking at the good and the bad cholesterol, family history of heart attack, heart disease, like this is very valuable information here because it's not just knowing this information, it's knowing, okay, well then what do I need to start working on lifestyle wise to make sure that I don't end up with heart disease. Then we look at insulin sensitivity and your risk for type 2 diabetes, methylation, which I'll talk to each of you guys individually who are doing this test more on that because it can get very in-depth scientifically, but just want you to kind of see here, oxidative stress, We know that oxidative stress, if there are not enough antioxidants coming into the diet, which we all know we don't eat enough fruits or vegetables, we are at risk for cell damage, cancers, chronic disease, premature aging. I mean, this is a big area that we're going to look at with this test. We look at detoxification, inflammation, and how that affects heart, mental health, weight management, everything, and then bone health. So there are certain genetic SNPs, we call them, or variations that really affect the way you're able to absorb vitamin D. And so for those individuals, you're at a lot higher risk for osteoporosis, pathologic fractures. So we want to make sure that you're getting enough vitamin D, that you're getting some sunshine, doing some weight bearing exercise, avoiding excessive caffeine, that sort of thing. So the core areas when we look at nutrition, it's going to give us specifics on macronutrient requirements, which is something that I love because I work with all of you guys on macros. So it's going to tell us if you have a barrier to weight loss with carbohydrate intake. And you might be surprised by this. I have a lot of women who come in, they've been eating low carb for a while and they're like totally scared of carbs. And we get this back and they have a normal response as far as weight loss for carb intake. And what really is making more of a difference is the weight loss barrier to high saturated fat intake. So again, like it puts on paper and kind of takes some of the guesswork out of, should I eat low carb? Should I eat more fat? That kind of thing. So you can look through here. So we really dig into the fats a little bit more as far as saturated fats versus polyunsaturated fats. We call them PUFAs, or monounsaturated fats. And so we can work together to really tailor, okay, what specific foods do I need to be trying to incorporate regularly, and what is actually making it harder for me to lose weight? And when I say lose weight, I'm even talking about things like cravings, like what is causing you to crave more? A lot of times we crave things that are not good for us. So a lot of times I see that when we get this in the right balance, as far as what you genetically need, a lot of those cravings get a whole lot better. And then it looks at micronutrients. So just as a recap, macronutrients are the nutrients that our body needs in large amounts, and that's carbs, fats, protein. And then micronutrients are vitamins and minerals that our bodies need in smaller amounts. So this looks at vitamin A, B2, B6, folate, B12, choline, vitamin C, vitamin D, calcium. And you can see, so anything that's grayed out means that you just have a normal need or requirement for that. The things that are kind of lit up or like more in bold are things that you need more of based on some of your genetics. So more on nutrition is food intolerance and sensitivity. So we look at lactose, we look at risk of gluten intolerance, increased risk for celiac disease. So a lot of times, like, I used to have patients all the time ask me to check them for celiac. And I mean, I can count on one hand the number of panels that came back positive, but this looks at from a genetic standpoint, you may be more sensitive to gluten. Does not mean you have full-blown celiac disease, doesn't mean that you ever will, but it's something, avoiding gluten is something that you should consider putting into practice. Looks at alcohol metabolism and then caffeine and salt sensitivity. Weight management. So this just kind of tells a little bit about body composition, circadian rhythm. One of the things that I really love about this is eating behavior. So we look at different genetics as far as taste buds. We know that there are certain genes that give you an increased taste sensitivity to bitter foods. And people who have that gene eat, like, I think it's something like 200 less servings of vegetables a year or something like that than people who don't have it. So these are people who don't really love vegetables. They have a hard time finding ways to work it in. So we have to really target vegetables that aren't as bitter. We have to even look at, making sure that you're eating seasonal things because they have less bitter taste, and just taking all that into account. Sweet tooth, and you're likely to crave sweets, snacking and feeling full. So it looks at a lot of those sort of things too, which I think is really cool. And then exercise response. So, this is something working with a lot of women that I kind of see a lot. It's like either people are either on two ends of the spectrum. Either they can't stand to exercise or they won't stop exercising. And it's like both ends of the spectrum are not great. So I find it very helpful to have on paper, look, this is what is going to help you from a weight standpoint. We look at MET hours, which there's a whole calculation at the bottom of this report as far as what a MET hour is and like the intensity, but making sure that we give our body what it needs as far as movement, but we don't overdo it is very important. Athletic potential. I just did my test and I really hope it comes back saying I'm athletic because my husband says I'm like not athletic at all. Recovery from exercise. So recovery from exercise has a lot to do with like, are you prioritizing sleep? Are you getting enough phytonutrients in your diet from fruits and vegetables and things like that? Collagen, stuff like that, as far as soft tissue injury risk and that sort of thing. So we go through all that, and this is the summary. And again, I find it very helpful for patients just to kind of see like, okay, this isn't like, I've gotten like 10 of these tests back and everybody's has said something different. So again, this is looking at you, your genetics, what is going to push you in the direction of optimal health. This isn't like what your friend is doing or what your sister is best for your sister. Like this is what is best for you. And then so when I meet with you guys who are doing this, we will go through some of these genes and the variation, but basically you'll see up here, the white circle means no impact. The circle with the check means it's a beneficial impact. And the more grayed out circles mean low, moderate, or high priority as far as impact. So you can see like for this sample test report, like insulin sensitivity is a big one. Methylation, there's the MTHFR. I talk a lot about that in relation to mood disorders, anxiety. I have that. I have actually both the CT and the AA, which is actually why I developed preeclampsia with my first child. Did not know I had that until after that experience. But anyway, really, oh, my mouse just died. Helpful information there. The phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. Anyway, I'm going to scroll through this. We'll go through this a lot more in depth, and I want to make sure that I have enough time to go through the other stuff I wanted to, but it's very in depth. And then what I wanted to show you is, so like for this person, sorry, this is so choppy, guys. My mouse just died. Come on. Oh no. Huh. Uh-oh. Can y'all still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what my screen just froze. Weird. Okay, well, what I was trying to tell you or show you is, so odd. Well, now my mouse is working. Must be an internet issue. It will tell you like based on these genes what we need to do lifestyle wise. So it will say like, let's avoid these types of foods, make sure you're getting lots of like cruciferous vegetables and stuff like this. And again, we'll go through this all more in depth, but I wanted to show you that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay, so that was just, I could go through that. It's a very long, I think it's like 60 pages of report. So, it's very in depth. But we just kind of take it in bite-sized pieces. All right, let's talk a little bit about intermittent fasting. So I recommend for most people, the exception would be diabetics, that you fast for a full 12 hours overnight. So black coffee would be okay, but as soon as you add anything to that coffee, that would be considered breaking the fast. For females, I see a lot of people, and I think it's like, like you'll see someone at work doing it. It's worked really well for them. So like then everyone jumps on the intermittent fasting train. Fasting for more than 16 hours is not helpful from a hormone standpoint. So, I mean, some people don't know that they have hormone imbalance, but they have a stubborn weight gain. They have maybe some hair growth in areas that is not favorable, excessive sweating, lots of different symptoms. But fasting for more than 16 hours is not helpful from a hormone standpoint. So it's actually considered a nutritional stressor. So, like our stress talk last week, our body doesn't know the difference between stress at work, stress at home. Um, Exercise is a stressor, but it's for a period of time. And that's why it's so important to like cool down and kind of turn that parasympathetic nervous system back on, but also nutritional stressors. So when you get up in the morning, I see women all the time who skip breakfast. We're dumping coffee in, which is shooting cortisol levels up. We don't eat until sometimes the afternoon. And that is very taxing on your body, on your gut microbiome, on your hormone balance. And it really just like sends your cortisol levels through the roof. So, my advice in that realm is fast for 12 to 14 hours. Don't push it past that 14 to 16 hours unless you're specifically looking at hormone levels, making sure that we're working really closely together on whether or not that is something that would be helpful for you. So I posted a little bit about this in my stories yesterday, and I had several messages from people saying that they were about to start it, but they have things like PCOS and other known hormone imbalance. And so I just want you guys to know that the fads are not always great. I wouldn't consider intermittent fasting a fad, except when people start like Googling how to lose weight quickly and intermittent fasting comes up, and all of a sudden they go from, like fasting 16, 24 hours. That's a lot for your body and it's not helpful. But the other side of that is, especially for my night owls, you guys get bored and you interpret that as hunger and you start getting munchy at 10, 11 o'clock at night. Your pancreas needs a break from producing insulin. So, when we think about insulin resistance and reversing that process, it is really good to have scheduled meal times and not, eat like a bird throughout the day or eat late and not do a full 12-hour fast. Because it really, I mean, every time you eat, you're asking your pancreas to produce insulin, and then your body has to work to get that glucose into the cell and do that whole metabolic process. We run into big problems, a lot of times there. So fasting for 12 to 14 hours, for most people, this is beneficial. If you do any more than that, you really want to make sure that your hormone balance, you're working with someone closely to check in on hormone balance and see how your body responds. Don't make any like big, major, sudden changes. If anyone has any questions about that, Cody or Kendra, put that in the chat. And if any of you who watch the recording, if any questions come up, let me know. And then protein goal. So kind of what Cody was mentioning at the beginning of the call, she had no idea how much fat she was getting is kind of what she was saying. And you've probably found, if you've done this for any length of time, that it's really easy to go over on fat and sometimes carbohydrates too when you're trying to reach your protein goal. So a couple tips I have for you. Obviously focusing on leaner sources of protein is going to help get your protein up without contributing to your fat. So like if you have scrambled eggs, highly recommend that you use one egg if you have room for it in the fat for the day. Sometimes people say like, I'd rather just do egg whites and have nuts later, or, butter on my toast or something rather than the egg. But do one scrambled egg, pour in some liquid egg whites. I see a lot of you guys doing that. I also see a lot of you guys doing like 3 tablespoons of egg whites, which like helps, but it's not, I don't know. So when I say add liquid egg whites, I mean like add a half a cup or a cup or 3/4 of a cup or whatever of liquid egg whites. So me personally, like I don't necessarily, I find that a whole egg, like the yolk kind of irritates my stomach. So I'll do egg whites and put just like a tablespoon of shredded cheddar cheese on top. Keeps the fats in check, gets the protein up higher. And I really enjoy cheese. Other ideas would be like if you're doing taco night or spaghetti sauce, do a pound of ground beef, lean ground beef, but lean ground beef is really expensive. And again, kind of going back to DNA core, for some of you, we really need to sift through the amount of red meat that we're getting. So we'll talk about that more individually. But in general, a pound of lean ground beef with a pound of ground chicken or ground turkey. I find still like the beef gives the sauce or the taco meat flavor, but it's adding a leaner protein in to kind of bulk it up a little bit. And then I think I've told most of you, but you know the cottage cheese hack, like adding that to your protein shake. Um, that's a really good way to do that. In your materials, you should have a sheet that says, if you need this, choose this. So if you put things in MyFitnessPal and you see that you've already hit your carbs and your fat, which is like, so easy to do, and you're still short on protein, I have a whole cheat sheet with what you can add. So let me see if I can actually pull that up real quick. I hope that this is helpful. And then remember things like, choosing one of the things I really talked to you guys about, which I should do like a whole Q&A um, on fiber, but thinking about like with carbs, making sure that we're choosing carbs like quinoa, beans, things like that are also contributing to protein is helpful too. So I found what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, hopefully y'all can see this. So everyone has this. Some of you it's in the Get Healthy platform, and some of you it's like in the first email that I sent you in like a it says EHN for Emmy Hearts Nutrition like packet. If you need this, add this. So okay, if you're short on protein and fat, but you've already hit all your carbs, you would add nuts, seeds, lean sausage like chicken or turkey, or like some sort of nut butter. Okay. If you have already hit carbs and protein and you just need a little bit of fat, you can add some butter. Highly recommend like ghee, clarified butter, or grass-fed butter, avocado, olive oil, those sorts of things. If you have already hit your fat and you can't go over anymore, but you have some carbs and protein you need to fill, this is a great time for beans, legumes, and then one of my favorites is like the Kodiak pancake mix, pancakes. If you need fat and carbs and you've already hit your protein, which is not the situation that most people find themselves in, but it could happen. You could do like an apple and banana, nut butter or nuts, cheese and crackers, rice cake, whole wheat toast with avocado or nut butter. I will say with this one right here, if your activity level has changed since we started, and that's one of the great things about us working one-on-one together for this period of time, is that we can tweak your numbers as we go. But a lot of you start eating better, you have more energy, you add in exercise, and you start feeling like, oh my gosh, when I first started, this was like, I could barely eat this much food. And now it's like, I'm starving. Doing one of these, adding in a fat and carb is really helpful just to kind of fuel your workouts, keep you going, give you energy. So this is something that you could do right here. But always talk to me before you if that's something that you feel like you need frequently, we need to talk. And then protein only, which happens with a lot of times, that's why I always tell you to put stuff in ahead of time as much as possible so that you don't get to the end of the day and realize you need 50 grams of protein and you're like, that sounds, what the heck am I going to eat? So things that are protein only are egg whites, shrimp. I love getting a bag of wild caught frozen shrimp from Costco and just put some out in a bowl, let them thaw, use a little bit of cocktail sauce if you want to. Make sure you track that though. That's a great protein source. Tuna, chicken breast, can be rotisserie chicken. Just try to get one that's like not the one from Costco that has tons of, that's like gigantic with hormones and who knows what in it. I actually heard there was a lawsuit against Costco for whatever's in their rotisserie chicken. So side note, I digress. Anyway, so don't forget that I just want to make sure that everyone knows that they have access to this. If you cannot locate it, please let me know. But that's kind of how you look at this. So when you're kind of, trying to get the hang of macros and what you need when and which foods fall into which category, I hope that you will find this helpful. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, protein requires planning. So, I mean, I have done this for years, and if I don't put ahead of time and go ahead and plan out the protein, it just doesn't happen. So, if you're struggling with cravings, if you're struggling with getting hungry, make sure that you have some protein and fiber first thing in the morning. I call it nature's Ozempic. I mean, that is the key to keeping you full, reducing cravings, and a shake with some frozen berries, frozen spinach, is a great way to get protein and fiber in first thing. So let me stop that screen share. Let me see if anyone had any other questions. Cody said very helpful. Thank you. Good. I'm so glad. I always want to do things that are helpful for you guys and are things that you kind of need to like talk through, flesh out, figure out how to make this sustainable a lifestyle. Because really like where people run into trouble is they don't stick with something for long enough to get results. So that's why I'm passionate about working one-on-one with each of you to make sure that it's something that you can sustain long-term and that you feel good. You know, those feelings when you're like doing a cleanse or like a specific diet and you're like, I can't wait till this is over. That is not how I want anyone that I'm working with to feel. I don't want you to be counting down the days till it's over. And just kind of a mindset thought to leave you with. If we're working together and you're trying to lose weight, these are not the numbers that you're going to live with. I think sometimes people start a diet or like we start with numbers and they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to eat like this the rest of my life, but it's not. Most of you have a maintenance calorie level over 2,000 calories a day. There is tons of freedom there. And as we work together, I will work with you to help you accomplish your goal, do a reverse diet back to maintenance, and you will comfortably live there for the rest of your life. Like my clients who get to that point, they are like, I had no idea that food worked like this. Why has no one ever taught me this? It's crazy, powerful, and there's so much freedom. So just know that you're doing the hard part right now. And so as consistent as you can be with this, just know that you're not always going to have to eat this amount forever. So that's it. Okay, now I have like I have no voice. I've just been talking. And my free Zoom meeting is about to end. So I will send the recording of this out. If anyone has questions, please let me know. Thank you, Kendra. Thank you, Cody, for being here, bringing your questions. I encourage all of you guys to celebrate something from the past week. Don't always be thinking, what you still need to change or what you should have done differently, but celebrate, we're busy, we have a lot going on, and you're making this a priority. And that is a huge celebration. All right, guys, talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.